Hey guys, it's Kira and welcome to a What I Eat in a Weekend. As always, all of the meals I'm sharing in today's video are 100% vegan, but this was a really busy weekend for me, so I thought it would be a great chance to show you some really simple, quick and easy vegan meals that are also really delicious, which is my most important thing when it comes to food. My very busy Saturday started out with quite a late breakfast because I was teaching yoga in the morning, so by the time I got back it was about 11 o'clock in the morning and I really was starving, so I made a really big brunch style breakfast that was super filling of some protein waffles. I did this by combining some buckwheat flour and cinnamon with some vanilla vegan protein powder and of course oat milk. Any flour will do in this case, I just use buckwheat because that's what I had in the cupboard, and the same goes for the protein powder, whatever you have on hand and whatever flavour you fancy making. I went for vanilla because it's just really delicious and quite a chilled out flavour. It's not really too in your face, so it can kind of go with any toppings. But I'm currently using a protein powder from a brand called Free Soul and it is delicious. It's super smooth and the vanilla flavour is incredible, and I also really like this brand just because their protein powder is specifically designed for women, which just means that as well as having the just regular protein that you'd expect from a protein powder, it also has in some extra added vitamins and minerals that are good for us, like iron, calcium and magnesium, which I just think is a great way to top those up as well as topping up your protein. I then of course added these to my little mini waffle maker, which is a new gadget for me and I'm obsessed with it, and then just made myself, I think I got 5 waffles there, yep, and they were delicious. I started adding on all of the good stuff, starting off with some of my favourite yoghurt, which is this high protein vanilla one from Alpro, and then also some strawberries. I love strawberries, they're definitely up there as one of my favourite fruits, and I'm just trying to make the most of them whilst they're still in season because I know we only have a few weeks left of really good strawberries. And then I also added on some maple syrup, which is just essential. I'm currently just loving waffles. They're just so cute and fun to make, but they're also really great because essentially the mixture that I use for waffles is the exact same mixture that I use for pancakes, and as you'll know from my other What I Eat in a Days and Weeks, I absolutely love pancakes, so this just basically gives me an excuse to eat pancakes even more often but just shape them kind of different so it feels like eating something new. And because that was quite a big brunch and it kept me full almost all the way through the afternoon, I just ended up having a late afternoon snack of some of these new potato crisp things from Marks and Spencer's. I got a couple of handfuls of the apple cider and salt ones and then also of the barbecue ones, and they're so good. They're kind of like little mini rice cakes in the way that they look, but they're so crunchy and really flavourful, so I'd highly recommend them. And then that took us all the way over until dinner time, at which point I started to make quite a weird combination of things, so just bear with me because I think it tasted good. I started out by chopping up some mushrooms. No, mushrooms aren't for everyone, but for me they've always just been one of my absolute favourites. I just love them, and I know that's so classic vegan, but I just think mushrooms are great. And then another one of my favourite vegetables is courgette, so I ended up chopping some courgette up as well. They're honestly 2 of my favourite vegetables, and I'd love to know what your favourite vegetables are. Let me know in the comments down below what your top ones are. Mushrooms and courgettes are definitely up there. I'm also a big fan of broccoli and spinach, if that counts as a vegetable. I then added them into a pot along with some hummus and also some almond milk, but again, any plant-based milk will do. I added in a few splashes of lemon juice and then topped that off as well with some nutritional yeast. And I was essentially going for a kind of creamy, mushroomy, cheesy sauce type thing, and it kind of worked out pretty well, I think. Then into a separate pan, I added in some red cabbage, which actually, funnily enough, is another one of my favourite vegetables. I think it's great and I just love how vibrant it looks. And I kept this one simple by just adding in some sage, onion and garlic seasoning, which I got from Tesco's, and then just splashed on some hot water just to stop it from sticking to the pan as I just gently allowed that to simmer and soften. And that made up the largest portion of my dinner, was the vegetables, which was nice because it just kept it nice and fresh. But then I also had some of this delicious olive sourdough. I absolutely love olives at the moment and they are incredible, especially when you put them in bread, because bread is incredible too. So I bought this, I think from Sainsbury's, and I just could not resist this bread because it just looked so good. Just look at the inside of this bread here and tell me that you don't want to eat it right now, because I know that I do, and I did eat it when it was fresh, but of course that was quite a few days ago now. So I toasted up a few slices of that and then just topped off each of those slices with some hummus, which is quite essential in my opinion. I think hummus is the best toast topping, without a doubt. I then added on the creamy mushroom sauce with the courgettes. I know it looks kind of weird, but it tastes incredible. Topped it off and kind of covered it up with the beautiful red cabbage, which just looks incredible. I know it's kind of, why is it called red cabbage when it's more purple? I really don't know, but it was delicious regardless of what colour it is. And then I also cooked up some of my favourite vegetarian vegan sausages, which are the Linda McCartney vegetarian ones. They're so good. And that made up what was very clearly a strange combination of flavours, and probably something that I would never make for anyone else because it's just the kind of thing that just works for my own taste buds. But it was really quick, easy, and just made up a load of things that I already had in the fridge and cupboard. For pudding that day, I had some of the Ben & Jerry's vegan cookie dough ice cream because we were watching Lord of the Rings and it just seemed like the perfect movie snack. And it had been ages since I'd had Ben & Jerry's, and also some chocolate sauce, which was so good. The next day I got back from teaching yoga again a little bit earlier this time, about 10 AM, and I just was in desperate need of a hot drink because it was a really cold day. So I made a hot chocolate using quite a strange combination of ingredients once again. I used some of this Vivo Life Magic hot chocolate, which I think has some like mushroom powders in there as well. I also added in some cacao powder, some cinnamon and ginger, so this made a really like spicy, almost like a chai hot chocolate, and then sweetened that with a few teaspoons of maple syrup, which is again the best thing ever. Literally make your hot chocolate next time with maple syrup and thank me later. I then topped up like about half of the mug with hot water and just mixed until it was all smooth, and then added in some frothed up oat milk. Kind of made a mess whilst doing it, but it's okay because it was delicious in the end. And that was a hot chocolate to die for, honestly incredible. I then decided to add in some vegan marshmallows just to jazz it up a little bit, but honestly this was such a perfect start to my Sunday. It was so delicious, probably the frothiest hot chocolate I've ever made, and I wouldn't have it any other way because it was so good. For lunch that day, I took a couple of pieces of the olive bread that I opened up last night because I of course didn't want it to go to waste, and it was quite a big loaf, so I ended up eating olive bread quite a few times over the next few days as well. Topped it off with some hummus and some black olive pesto. That is my favourite vegan pesto ever because it has all of the best flavours of regular pesto and then the addition of an olivey flavour, which is just so good. I then added on a little bit of just some smooth tomatoey pasta sauce and then some extra olives because, as if there wasn't enough olives in the bread already, I thought this was going to need extra. And then finally I added on some spinach, smushed them together into a sandwich, and then added that sandwich onto our little sandwich press to make myself a delicious toastie. And let me tell you, it was so good. Typically I'd add vegan cheese or something like this, but I didn't have any in, and honestly the flavours of everything else going on were so good that I really didn't need it. I had that with some barbecue crisps, some strawberries, and also a cup of tea, and it was a really delicious lunch. Honestly, like one of my favourite things to do when I want something that's like warming but I'm in a savoury mood and I also want a little bit of something sweet. I just think that combination is so good and I really enjoyed it. Then I ended up going out to our little vegetable patch and making my first cut of a courgette. I was so proud of myself before making some dinner. So I cut off my courgette and washed it up, and honestly it was so exciting. We planted these courgettes back in March, almost when lockdown had just begun, and finally they're all ready to pick, and it's so exciting because, like I mentioned earlier, courgettes are one of my all-time favourite vegetables, and I just thought this one looked so beautiful, and honestly it was just so exciting to actually be eating something that I had actually grown myself. I'm definitely going to be growing more things next year. I feel like we maybe threw ourselves in the deep end a little bit this time because we tried to grow lots of things and not all of them worked out, but the courgettes did, so I'm definitely going to grow them again next year and try my hand at a few other things as well. Along with the courgettes, I ended up adding in some more mushrooms and some olives because clearly I was on an olivey kick this weekend, and also some of that sage, onion and garlic seasoning that I showed yesterday with the cabbage. I also added in some of the black olive pesto and some tomato sauce, just a dolmio plain tomatoey sauce, and I was making pasta this evening, so this was my very nice fresh vegetable pasta situation, and I was really excited about this sauce, mostly just because of the courgettes. Just took a brief interlude to play with the lovely cute cat who was showing off her very clever high fives. Just thought you might enjoy that whilst I'm cooking. And this was just while the sauce was simmering away and I was waiting to cook the pasta. And then of course the pasta and sauce got combined, and oh my god, was it delicious. I just was like so ready to eat it just there and then as I was stirring it in. I then created a nice big bed of spinach, because you just can't go wrong with spinach and pasta in my opinion. I just think that they go so well together. And then I topped the pasta onto the spinach, so you kind of get a little bit of wilting, but some of the spinach is still fresh, and I just think it's so good. And then also some accidentally vegan garlic bread, which is just the very cheap garlic bread from Tesco's. I think it's 30p for a baguette, and it's accidentally vegan and really delicious. And that was a dinner on Sunday evening, and it was a really good one of my favourite meals for sure. And then the final thing that I ended up eating for this What I Eat in a Week was a bowl of cereal, some very childlike Choco Chimp cereal, which is of course vegan, along with some almond milk, and it was a perfect end to a very busy but super delicious weekend. Thanks so much for watching. I hope you've enjoyed seeing these easy but really delicious meals, and I'll see you next time.